Sir, so yeah, let's get into it, Mikey. I know you got a lot going on, so don't want to take too much of your time. So I just wanted to just get into you being a serial entrepreneur. What got you into being an entrepreneur? Was it an event early in your life? Were your parents entrepreneurs, or did they guide you into having your own? Was it the fact that you hated working for somebody, or what really got you into owning your own businesses and everything?
I really hated being broke all my life.
Yeah,
It started when I was young. I was too young to actually get a job. I couldn't even get a worker's permit. So I was like, all right, cool. How do I make money? Lemonade stand, mowing lawns, raking leaves. This is up in DC, shoveling snow. I can't wait. So I never forget. I remember being in like a Foot Locker or something like that. And Jordans back then were still very new and very big and still very damn expensive. And I never forget asking my mom, I was like, hey mom, because I know one of my good friends had a pair. And I was like, hey mom, can I get that pair of shoes, And she looks at me like I'm half crazy. And she's like, your budget for shoes, I think it was like $50 or $60, which back then was still very good. But Jordans were still over $100. Like they're never under 100. And I was just like, and she's like, no, you're going to have to work. And I was like, oh, okay. So I started working then. And it was funny. I kind of got lost in my 20s as far as entrepreneurship goes. I moved down to Atlanta from DC. It was a total culture shock down here, especially I moved down here about 22, 23 years ago. It's not the same Atlanta that it is today. Okay. So it was a culture shock growing up where I grew up, and I had friends from all over the world because actually the high school I went to had a lot of diplomats there. And so I was used to having friends all over the world, and I came here and it was very different. Let me just put it that way. So I didn't really like it, but then Atlanta as a city grew. And then I broke out of just the kind of small network that I was in. And now I love Atlanta. I mean, the last 5 years, Atlanta's been great. It's the place to be. We're full though. If you think you're moving here, nope. The Instagram memes are true. We full. You stay where you are. Right?
Traffic is crazy. Everywhere you go, traffic is crazy. Can't get nowhere.
Yeah. So entrepreneurship it's been a journey. Let me put it that way. Like it looks good today, but
a lot of work.
Many years of not looking so good. Trust me.
Yeah. So you came from DC to Atlanta.
Yeah. So I actually was in Bethesda, Maryland. So like 1 mile, we were like a mile or two from the DC line. And then moved down here when I was 21. I thought I was going to go to college, and I moved down here, and I still I just learned different. So I couldn't do it. It wasn't for me. So, I just kind of self-taught everything.
Okay.
Yeah. Culture. Yeah. It's a big culture shock from like a big city coming down to like it's still the South, even though Atlanta's big, it's still like the South. You know what I mean?
It is.
I'm from Chicago, so when I come down here, it was like at first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mikey, let's talk about, I mean, you said it took you forever to get established. But let's talk about the private label and how extremely successful it is. Like what errors or what mistakes set you back the first time around, and then how'd you like overcome it?
What mistakes? How long is this show?
We got all the time.
However long you want to be, man.
We made them all. Okay, we made them, or I made them all. Let me just put it that way. I made them all. My first business, I was in the food industry, and I wasn't as dedicated. Well, I was a dedicated entrepreneur, but I was not an educated entrepreneur. Right. So going through that process with my first business and then a bunch of in between where we are today with private label, I didn't really have the background. I didn't have the support system. I didn't know how to really learn. I had never really failed big before. So, pretty much everything from not reinvesting back in the business. I mean, that's one of the most important things. From not being as consistent as I should. I worked hard, but I feel like the things I did that would really push the needle in the business, I wasn't as consistent. I think when you find something in your business that, say, hey, oh my God, I finally found something that's working. You got to take that, and it's like a dial, turn that up. Right. So like really focus and turn that thing up, because there's going to be a lot of things that you personally as an entrepreneur are not going to be great at. And that's when you hire people. And, in the beginning, I thought I could just do everything. I was like, oh, I can work 1 million hours a week and, I got this. No, it's not like that. Like you can't do everything yourself. You have to build a team. So that's something that we really focused on. It was a lot, it was an exciting project, the food project, because it got a lot of media. It was like a new item, and it was good, but it really helped me. All that stuff that I went through with that business and some of the others is what really set me up for, this business that I'm currently in to be successful. I mean, it didn't happen overnight. I mean, this is, I've been a hardcore entrepreneur for over 15 years now. So you would think finally, finally, Jesus, like last couple of years, I'm like, oh my God, just one of those things.
Yeah. That was the Thai food business.
Yeah, the Thai food. So it was the first packaged Thai curry sauce to be sold in the US.
Yeah.
It had some good success. We were in Whole Foods and Kroger's and a bunch of gourmet grocery stores, selling food online in 2006 when nobody was selling food online in 2006. I mean, it was a different time then. Yeah. So, I was a little, or actually I was probably a little early with that product and how I did that approach, along with lack of experience.
Okay.
Got you. 2006. Wow. Nobody was doing nothing like that back then.
I mean, YouTube. I was on YouTube making YouTube videos in 2006. Wow. I mean, think about that. If I just was consistent with that, and even if the Thai food business failed, but I just kept pushing out YouTube videos. 15 years. I mean, where would I be today?
You would have been like the first big YouTuber.
I know. See, so that's one of the things. I was so close, and I look back, and I was so close with so many things. I mean, I did a couple episodes. I started my first podcast in 2010. We're talking like Joe Rogan time started, I had this podcast called Foodpreneur, and it was about interviewing food entrepreneurs because I was in the food space. I thought it could be a good way to network with other food entrepreneurs. Foodpreneur was a great name. I had the domain name. And just same thing, was it? But podcasting today a lot of things today are a lot easier than it was. Think about trying to podcast in 2010, just getting the equipment.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Definitely.
It was so difficult. So if you're watching this, you have the advantage of a lot of information out there like there was not 10 years ago. You have a lot of technology that, is way cheaper. These great video cameras and microphones and everything else that are very affordable. The barrier to entry for e-commerce is much easier, but then you have to take all of that together and then remember, then the barrier of entry is easier for everybody. So what are you going to do to push above all those other people that now are coming into the market? That's what you have to ask yourself.
A lot of competition.
Look, embrace it. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
People try to get in the hair industry. They're like, oh, I don't know. It's so competitive. It's like, saturated. I said, every good market's saturated.
Yeah. Everything.
Yeah, that's true. But as many people are coming in the industry today are leaving because they're not consistent. They're not setting them up for success. They're not focusing on how to make their business successful. And that's really the key.
And you said you've been doing like business for like 15 years. Like, people don't want to like put in that time nowadays. They want like 15 days. They want something to pop off.
It's social media, man. It's like I didn't grow up with social media, and when I first started a business, there wasn't really social media. And today, it's the social media. People see people on Instagram that think like it's just going to happen overnight, or they're like, "Oh my God, I didn't make $1 million this year." I'm like, "Yeah, it's your first year." You know what? But if they see celebrities that do it quick, what they don't realize is most of these celebrities that have the huge following or have been on TV, they've actually been building up their personal brand for so long that it makes it easier for when they do launch a product, they have that huge advantage. So like you can't categorize yourself with somebody that has already spent that time building up their following and building up their personal brand to launch something, because they have an advantage. But, you know, we're like, oh, what was so easy for them? I was like, yeah, but it wasn't easy for the 10 years that they've been on TV on some crazy ass reality show or something like that, you know? So that's something you got to take into consideration.
I can keep you with the best if you just fuck with me. I can keep you with the best. I'm gonna keep you. I can keep you with the best if you just fuck with me. I can keep you with the best. I'm gonna treat you. I can keep you with the best. Eating good, shopping sprees. I can keep you with the best. Give you what you want. I can keep you with the best if you just fuck with me. I can keep you with the best. I'm that nigga.